pretty basic run-through of what Warlock is. So if you're familiar with the first game, just tag along and take a look at Warlock 2 is. But if you never played the first game but are interested in what this is, I will show you everything you need to know and more. Probably not more, probably just what you need to know. For those of you who are interested in the story parts of this game, this is a game, or rather the sequel is set right after the final DLC for Warlock Master of the Arcane, where the alien race of the Dremors tried to shatter the world of Ardania and succeeded with their powerful magics. At that point, when the ruling council of Ardania was out fighting these Dremors, one of them went behind their backs of their colleagues, went for a power grab, cast the spell of Unity, and became the sole master of what's left of Ardania, where he or she rules together with his or her 4 lieutenants. And what you do, the player, is that you assume the role of one of these exiled great mages, the ones that were cast out and backstabbed. You've been exiled to one of the many shard worlds that remain, and your goal is to slowly fight your way back through these shards to reclaim what was once yours. What I'm going to be showing you tonight is the new game mode that is based on this story setting called The Exiled, where you, instead of fighting on one huge map, start on a small world and through a net of portals try to find your way back into Ardania to reclaim what was once yours. I'm going to be doing this with one of the new races called the Svarts, the descendants of the Ardanian dwarfs. So, let's go into it. Could we cut to my thank you? We will be playing the Exiled mode. I'm reading out loud from the screen. A campaign during which you travel through different worlds towards your goal. Return to Ardania and defeat the United One. That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep the basic victory conditions of this. We can win by either defeating the other great mages or defeat the lieutenants, the 4 ones. Looking into the wrong camera. Or defeat the lieutenants, the 4 ones that is helping the United One. We will be playing in challenging mode, since I've been working with this for a year now and I have roughly 400 hours of gameplay. So challenging should be the thing. As you can see, you can, even in this new game mode, you can do some tweaking on how you want to play it. You can play in a small universe, a huge one, and depending on how big your universe is, you can choose how many opponents you want. I think I'll go for a medium one this time, with 3 opponents. We have 14 great mages in this game, some old returners from the first one, like Miralbus. As you can see, he's much more gloomy now. Instead of his nice blue hat, he has this black beret thingy. Those that are returning, of course, have a bit more backstory, new portraits, and stuff like that. I am going to be playing First Rune Witch. She's a trader and she has basic dispel and create artifacts. If you are not happy with the setups from the start, you can of course customize your sorry, I am confused now. You can customize your great mage, but we won't be doing that now.
Hi you guys, sorry to interrupt you again. My name is Erica and I'm the co-producer for this project. I saw that we were out of sound in the beginning, so you probably didn't get that I will moderate the chat. So please feel free to ask any kind of questions. I'm gonna start by one that we already have. And it's from Integrity, and he or she wants to know, does the universe determine shard size or number of shards?
Yes, shard, both actually, but mostly number of shards. The shard size doesn't scale that much between the size of the universes, but there's a slight difference. And let's bring up the big nice world map so we can talk about it right away. As you can see here, I start on one of these small ones, and I will... These starting worlds all include one portal that goes somewhere to here, and these bigger worlds includes more portals. So there will be a net of ways here. And as I slowly progress to my goal down here, the worlds will get bigger and the opposition will be much stronger. So I start in a relatively small and safe world, from where I move into more dangerous stuff. And for those of you who are not aware of these kinds of games that much, I have my units, I have my capital, I have what to do. If I click over here, I can see what's happening to me this turn. Ooh, I have a new achievement because I entered an elemental world. And as I showed you over here, this is an ice world, one of the elemental worlds. Let's expand this again. Each time I can recruit a new unit from my city, it will tell me over here. This is the city view. This is my capital, Skalnol. It shows what buildings I can currently build. It also shows what units I can currently build. How many buildings I have depend on the level of the city, but I will get to that later. For now, I have okay income, I have okay food, so let's build. And I can of course go in here and look at the research tree and see what I can build later in game. I've been playing this game quite a lot, so I know that I eventually want to go to here, to the Dragonmort skill, to be able to recruit Dragonlords. And to do that, I need a research and digging department. But the research and digging department costs 10 upkeep every turn, and I currently have 7.5. So I'm going to start by building a tax office that will up my gold production by 50%, which means that I will, when it's built, have much more. When I click one of these buildings, I can see what hexes I can currently build them on. These will be lit up with blue, so I just put it there. And over here we can see that it will be done in 3 turns. We will also, for good measure, recruit a couple of prospectors. Now, on to the exploration part of things. As you can see, I have a pretty limited, limited view of stuff right now. So I will send my honorable warriors, the basic melee units of the Svart race, to check out over here. The Svarts are a dwarvenish race. They're gameplay-wise, they're pretty easy to start with. They're very heavily armored, but they're slow-moving and a bit expensive. So they have good survivability, but they lack some speed. These are my prospectors. They, as you can see, if we zoom in a little closer, have bionic arms to dig with. They also are a support unit, as you can see by this little arrow here. It means that if someone attacks my honorable warriors when they're on the side of them, when they're adjacent to the prospectors will fire at the attackers to help them out. We also need to research a new spell. This is the much improved spell system, where I have 3 different kinds of research trees. As you can see, each research tree has my English just failed me. These 4 little slots, or 2. It means that when I have researched one of these spells, this one will fill up, and once I have researched, so this is full, I can move on to the next research group. And the further I progress, the better the spells. So, and also these 3 different trees are a bit differently focused. We have mostly offensive spells over here, we have a bit more terramorphing and healing down here, and we also have the divine spells, and they're tied to the different gods of Ordania that I will touch upon later. And if I forget to do that, Erika, please remind me that I need to touch on the gods later. For now, we will research Lesser Fireball, because it's good to have, and that's what we can do this turn. So
I'm gonna interrupt you and ask you a question. Victrix wants to know, can we still capture enemy cities? If yes, can we use the previous race units?
Yes, just like in the first game. If I capture an undead city, I can choose to destroy it, or I can choose to later use it at my own and get units from that faction, which is something I personally like because it gives me a bit of diversity. I'm not necessarily stuck with what I started with. Yes, so we can see here I've now encountered the bridge. This is the first quest you get. I need to find one of the portals. And what happened when I passed the turn was that these rogues that came from the Rogues Guild over here attacked my prospectors. That took quite a lot of damage, but so did the rogues. So we can see down here in the lower left corner is the prediction of the battle, which looks good for my honorable warriors, but not very good for the rogues. So we'll attack. She's running away. Do you know what? We will keep her alive for now, because as long as the lair still is here, the lair can spawn more of these rogues, and I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight them. So what we're going to do is that we're going to use the special ability of the prospectors. I'm going to summon some crows, which are a good scouting unit. They can fly, they can't fight, but they have a okay sight range, and use them to loot that lair. And it got me a new spell, which is nice. It also got me an enlightened shaman and some gold, so that was a very, very good move. When you loot these lairs, you usually get a bit of gold or mana, but if you're in luck, you can get stuff like heroes, and you can get something that's called a glyph that I will talk about more later. But as you can see, this guy is pretty heavy on upkeep. That's why all of my income suddenly went down. We will use him to kill the rogue.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Please do.
Dog eating fish wants to know, will there be mod support?
We have what we like to call the Warlock 2 editor, where you can edit pretty much everything in game. You can edit units, you can edit these icons. What you can't do is that you cannot import 3D models. But you can create totally new units with new icons down here and with different building trees and stuff, as long as you use the same models. You can edit spells, you can edit perks, you can edit great mages, of course. You can create new ones with new graphics and do predefined sets of perks for them and everything. And most importantly, you will be able to create maps, and you will be able to, let me just think before I speak. It's usually a good thing to do. You will be able to create maps. That you will be able to do in our handy little graphical interface for this. And if you're a bit skilled in XML, you will be able to tie these maps together into smaller story scenarios, which is something I know that a lot of fans of the first game asked for, and I'm really happy that we're having it in this one. And this editor will be nicely tied into the Steam workshop for easy access and uploading NES for everyone. So yes, is the answer to that question. Let's see if there's something else to do this turn. Maybe we can cast a spell. This is the new spell book. You can sort your spells on different things. Now we currently only have 3 spells, so it's not that impressive. And we don't have any spells we need to cast, so let's just skip to the next turn. I hope I can find you a portal soon to show you what that looks like. What we're going to do now is that... oh yes, my prospectors. We'll do the same thing as I did before. I will summon their crows, which are alive for a couple of turns and then just vanishes, so I need to respawn them. We'll check what's up here. Ooh! The big troll is blocking the entrance to the bridge and demands gold in exchange for passage. These mystic portals are the things that you use to go to other worlds, and all of them are guarded by some kind of either entity, monster, or some kind of spell. So let's see how we can tackle this monster.
So I'm gonna ask a question again. Grey Dubak wants to know, so if we haven't played the original, we won't be totally lost, right?
You will not be totally lost, not at all. The first game was a great game, but it was a bit hard to get into, at least for me. I know it was. So we have been working a lot with our incredibly talented developers in Inoko Plus from Krasnodar in Russia, to make this a way more accessible game without dumbing it down. I didn't show it to you. I'm getting confused with the cameras. I didn't show it to you, but we have a pretty nice and nifty tutorial in this game that really shows you the basics. We think that it shouldn't be hard to get into the game. The hard thing should be getting the strategy right and like knowing how to optimize and doing smart things. It shouldn't be a hard thing to know how to research and to cast a spell. So I would say that this is a pretty easy to get into game, but still with a lot of depth. So what can we do about the troll? He wants 150 gold. We don't have 150 gold. We're slowly losing gold, which is not a good thing. We can try to trick him by giving him 25 mana instead, but as you see, there's a 70% chance, or risk, 70% risk, that he will attack us instead. So we'll try to shoo him off. And now we have an angry troll on our hands. Okay, so we will let him be there for a while we explore. I said I'd come back 2 buildings, and I will. As you can see here, this little number, that's the current level of your city. And once this circle around it is filled with green, as you can see, every turn a little pie plate of it is filled. It goes to the next level and you can build a new building. And how fast these pie plates fill up depends on this. On the growth of your city. As you can see, currently it grows with 68 people per turn. It should be growing by 139, but as you can see, I have minus 72 from the starvation. The fact that I lack sufficient food is currently help me with the English, Rika. It's currently tampering with my ability to grow faster and build an enormous empire. These guys are pretty hurt, so we will let them rest for a while. That means they regain some of their energy. We have a couple of ghost wolves here we will try to deal with my enlightened shaman. And we will kill them off, or at least loot their lair.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the other race that we're not playing currently, the Plainstriders?
Yes, I can talk a bit about the Plainstriders. The Plainstriders, the other main we have 6 races now instead of the 3 we had in the first game. We have the 3 from the original game. We have the elves, we have these Svart dwarves, and we also have the Plainstriders, which are totally new. Their story is that when the world's shattered, they well, it was hard to talk and shoot at the same time. I'm just going to shoot this Leviathan and then get back to talking. The story behind them is that when these are remnants of different races who banded together to help each other out in the hard times of the exile. And gameplay-wise, it means that they have a lot of different kinds of units from different races, which gives them a versatility that I would say not any other of the races have. They're very quick, they're good at scouting with some human scouts. They have advanced warriors who are undead, which means they can take a lot of punishment, and they're really good at scouting, but compared with the Svarts, they lack a bit on the hard-hitting end. So depending on your play style, you just choose what suits you the best. I usually prefer something that's a bit quicker. So the reason I choose to play Svarts today was that I wanted a bit more of a challenge forced me to play a bit different than I did. And for those of you who played the first game and are used to the level up these guys, give them some more elemental wrath. For those of you who played the first game and are used to the big sandbox map of Warlock 1, we of course have that in here as well, so you can play either on this nice grid of worlds or on just one huge map slowly taking over everything. And for me, who played both games a lot, this mode forces me to play in another way. Instead of slowly steamrolling the map, I usually choose to try to assemble some kind of elite scout force and look through the worlds to see where it's good for me to get a foothold. We will cast no spells now, but we will build a city. And we are incredibly low on food. And as you can see now, my city grew, which means I have a pumpkins in here. Once I get special resources inside of my city, I can use them to build special buildings. So I will build a pumpkin farm on them that will generate 4 food and 4 mana each turn. I know I was going to talk about something else, but I kind of lost my train of thought in all the pumpkin madness. Erika, have you any idea what I was going to talk about?
No, but I do know that you wanted me to remind you to talk about gods.
Yes, we can talk a bit about gods. That we can do. If I look at myself here, we can see that I have 3 opponents that I haven't met, and as I keep researching perks, they will all show up here, so I have a good view of what I do. Over here, I will also be able to look at my diplomatic relationships with the other gods, but with the other great mages. But over here, we have the god alignment wheel. We have 8 gods in Ardania that all stands for different things. Currently, you can see me here in the middle, and as I in-game choose to align with one god, I will slowly gravitate toward that one, and I will also gravitate away from other gods. So if I, for example, go towards Krypta, I will leave Agrella behind. And the effects this has on gameplay is that if Agrella gets really mad with me, she can send an avatar that is a dangerous high-level monster against me, and I don't want that. But depending on what god I align with, I will be able to research different kinds of spells. So you can see Agrella gives me healing, while Krypta, the goddess of death, lets me summon skeletons. So, since I can only align with a couple of gods, let's go back to the window here. If I move towards Krypta, I will also automatically move a bit towards the adjacent one, so I can only really be high level with one. But it will force me to make hard choices on what kind of god spells I want to cast. Yes! We will see what's on the other side of the water. Appears to be not much. Now we have a decent amount of shooty units. So we'll slowly be moving toward the troll. So at least I can show you how we move into another portal or another world before we end this stream. It was supposed to be pretty quick.
Attention!
As you can see, the trolls are pretty dangerous, so I will be moving a... No, I can't because of the terrain around here. As you can see, when I hover over hexes, they have different properties. We have frozen forests, we have snowy hills, snowy mountains, and mountains I can't move above at all. They're impassable terrain. Hills and forests are harder to move through than the plains down here, so it means that I can't. I'm currently stuck. I need to wait for my next turn. Oh crap, the trolls are... Ow! Ow! Okay, let's see what we can do. We move these guys closer to here. See if we can run away with these. My buildings works as roads, so it's easier for me to travel on stuff I've built. Cool, we've positioned them over here. They can make a small dent in the trolls, but the trolls are still more dangerous to me than I am to them. So we'll shoot at him first with my capital. We will shoot at him with my enlightened shaman. There's the stuff.
How may we solve?
Pow. Pow. Ha ha ha. Screw you, stupid troll. And the next turn we will be able to move into the next world. Ooh, now I know what I was going to talk about earlier. I was going to talk about how many cities you can have. In the first game, you could just slowly build how many cities you wanted, which we thought was kind of a flaw because it made the game a bit easier. What we have implemented now is that you have an optimal number of cities in your domain at the same time. You start with 5 cities. You can have more than 5 cities, but when you do, you will start to get negative effects, like your unrest will grow, people will be unhappy, which ultimately can lead to bad stuff happening, like revolts, the spawning of the spawning of dangerous creatures, and just lower general production. So we don't want that. Oh, there's so much forest between me and my pretty portal. Heal that guy. And turn. I want to move into the new world. There we go. Once the guys are on the portal hex, you will be asked if you want to send them into the portal, or if you just want to have them standing there. But of course, we want to send them in. Excellent. Now I can use bridges. We have a couple of story quests in this Exiled mode that will slowly lead you towards where you're going. You'll encounter some of the lieutenants of the United One that will send bad stuff at you. Let's look at the big map. We have gone from Shiver Plain, the ice world, to Morndale, the dead world. It's still a tiny, tiny land, but as you can see, we have a couple of world presets.
Attention!
That all gives different bonuses. It's easier. Oh, that was not good. That was not good. Because the hex adjacent to the portal was taken, he moved to a hex adjacent to that one.
So a little question here.
A little question.
Integrity wants to know, what do the Svarts specialize in as far as the economy, as humans specialize in gold, monsters, food, undead mana, etc.? What does that leave to the new races?
They're built in kind of a different ways. They have the Svarts, production-wise, also are really good at gathering money, but I would say that they're better at getting money than the humans, but they also have a more obvious drawback. For Svarts, it's going to be really hard to get, really hard as in slight. It's going to be hard for them to get a lot of mana in late game if you're not very careful. So you can get a lot of money really quick, but you need to be a bit careful so you keep your mana as well. So it's a bit more extended with a bit more drawback. Hope that answered the question.
Healing to death? How may we solve?
I can ask another one if you want to. Kimarus has a question. With regards to religion, how are temples and religious structures being handled this time around?
The temples are being handled roughly the same way as in Warlock 1. When you get to a world where you have where you can find holy grounds, you can build temples on these holy grounds to recruit powerful endgame units. What temples you can build is dependent on what race you choose and what god you align with. Some of the races have predefined gods that I don't remember on the top of my head, but with like humans, they can choose right off the bat who they wanna. They can build every temple as long as they're not too aligned with any god. But what we have added is, I'll show you. God, these are not very fast. We can look down here. I have the possibility of building shrines that ups my reputation with gods quicker than just doing god quests that we had in the first game. And when I start building cities that I don't want to use, I can convert them into what we call a special city. Since you have the city cap, you will be forced to eventually leave some of your cities behind, and instead of just destroying them, you can convert them to special cities. And one of the 3 types of special cities is god-specific things that gives you a big amount of rep. Oh my god, those spiders are dangerous. That gives me a lot of rep with specific gods.
Did you say you had 400 hours in this game?
Yes, I never said I was any good at it though. What I like especially with the multiplayer of this game is that it just it gives you the same experience in multiplayer as in single player. So you just switch an AI out for a human. So when I get tired of getting beaten by the computer, I can just yell to Erika sitting 2 desks away and get beaten by her instead. Great fun for everyone. Mostly Erika.
So a bit more about multiplayer.
Yes.
Can we co-op or PvP?
You can do what we want. The possibilities are, if not endless, then at least big. When we started making this, our idea was that people would be playing PvP 4 players. 4 players is the maximum amount of human players. But what we found out was that a lot of people didn't play PvP. They played PvE against the computer. So we added what we call an alliance mode, where you're automatically allied with every other human, so you get a shared victory. And if you don't want to align with with all of your human friends, you can use the in-game diplomacy to decide who you want to work with or against, and who you want to get a shared victory with. Or if you don't want to get a shared victory, you just keep on fighting until everyone except you is dead. And now I put them there. I'm not very smart today, am I? That's why I'm researching. I switched from researching Fireball to researching Magic of Flight over here, which gives my units the opportunity to levitate, so I can get them out and picky positions like that. The little hourglass over here shows how many turns it will currently take me to research them. How many turns it will take is dependent on my number of research points. As you can see here, I get 5 research points every turn currently from my capital. And since this costs 15 research points to research, it will take me 3 turns. No, I don't want to sacrifice them. We'll put them in a... They're also stunned, so I can't even run away with them. We'll put them on defend and see if they survive. They probably won't. And they didn't. But stupid spider moved in, so I can shoot him with the guys over here. Haha. Also prepared a little fireball for him. And yes, as you can see, or as you maybe can't see, maybe you can see it if I go further in with the crows. This is a dead world. Dead hills, dead plains, ashen world where not much lives and grows. So this will mean that if I would be playing undead, this would be an ideal place to settle down for me, because I don't need to grow food or anything, and all the inhabitants are zombies or skeletons. But for a human, it's not that good, since I need to grow food and stuff.
I have a question here from Fuju Chef. Can I play this game with my friend who sadly owns a Mac?
Yes, that is truly sad that he owns a Mac, because unfortunately you can't. Currently you can't play the game at all since it's not released yet, but this will be PC only at release. We never know what's happening in the future, but PC only at release. But he can dual boot. It's not easy, but it's doable. I'm gonna try to move my settler over here so I can start a new city in the new world. I will keep these guys up to speed.
The mechanic wants to know what happened to the Dremmers.
The Dremmers, they were of course killed by Miralbus the Hat, or what great mage you choose to beat Armageddon with if you beat Armageddon. I never did, it was way too hard for me. There's still some of them might be left in these shattered worlds. You might encounter 1 or 2 of them sometime, but you probably don't want to. But story-wise, they were cast out when the great mage you played beat Dremagor, the evil lord of the Dremmers. What I'm going to do now, just before we finish up, because we had our half an hour and more than that, is I'm gonna show you the special cities. This is my settler.
Where to?
As you can see, the smart settler is a robotic dog with a nice little screen for a face. We'll end turn, so he has movement points. Yes, I want to send you into the portal.
Claim it.
And
The
while
new
he's
spell
rested, he can
research
build a
is
city.
complete.
Kapow!
We have founded a new
And
city.
as you can see here, my number of cities grew to 2. I can build, but special cities. There are 3 different types of special cities. Either free towns that only exist, doesn't do that much, never grows hex-wise, but as the longer it lives, the more gold it produces for you. It's not a huge amount, but it's still some time. It's still some more money. They are, however, a bit vulnerable, so you might want to keep them looked after. You can build a fortress city, which is a strong defensive position that gets more stronger. It's not correct English. That gets stronger with levels, and you can build god-specific cities. So the last thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to build a temple city to Fervus. How? Big wolf city. And as you can see, I got 10 more rep with Fervus from that, which means I can... where are we? I can now research his spells. This was basically what we're going to show you today. As you can see, this new game mode is significantly different from the sandbox mode that we also have. Sorry, get confused by the cameras again. I've been playing this game for 400 hours during development. I still think it's great fun. I'm an explorer type of player, different from Erika, who always beats me when we play multiplayer, because she's more of a power gamer. I just like walking around in these different worlds. Since the setup is procedurally generated every time you start a new game, there's a lot of stuff to explore, there's a lot of new stuff to see, and I still encounter content from Warlock 1 that I haven't seen before. And since we've added as much again, I'm going to be able to just explore for hours and hours and hours. Do we have any final questions before we leave you hanging? Or?
Yeah, a valid question, I guess. What will the game cost? And if you own the first one, will you get a discount?
The game will cost $29.99, which is a bit more than the original. But since we added so much content, it's really worth it. Really. And I don't know what discounts, if any, our sales department has planned. You'll have to see at release. Anything else?
Well, GG Limper is talking about the boss fight in Armageddon. And
yes.
Will it be as difficult as in that DLC?
I don't want to spoil too much of the end game, since it is, after all, a bit of a surprise. But let's just say that in Armageddon you had one final boss. Now you have more. And that's it for us. Thank you for watching. The game is releasing in April. I guess I'll see you later. Take care.
Peggy 12.
War. A wise man said it never changes. But he's dead. Eaten by a dragon in war. I've seen things out there. Horrible things. Rats the size of wolves. Wolves the size of cities. Cities shaped like wolves. And turtles so big they make the wolf cities look like rats. But that's war. Turtle war. All of these frightening and strange monsters can be defeated on your path from exile, so long as you've got one important thing. Really big fireball. Very useful spell, fireball. Warlock 2, the Exiled. More monsters, more spells, pure ecstasy.
Peggy.
My name's A.D. Adventureman, and I'm on the hunt for adventure again through the new fractured world of Warlock 2, the fantasy war game. First up is the jungle world, where the monsters are turtly awesome. Actually, it appears to be a tortoise. And since it's turn-based, the only paws you'll be pressing are the paws of these murderous bears. Next up is the undead world, which poses a serious question. How do you kill that which does not live? With strategy and swords. My trusty dragon and I head to the moon world. Not because it is easy, but because it is hard and dangerous and filled with giant killer robots. Only a lunatic would live on the moon. Now we're off to the lava world. It looks friendly and warm and... Good God, what is that? Forget it. This fantasy wargaming is no joke. Warlock 2. More warfare. More monsters. Pure ecstasy.